That's
No, you can't. I'm just that adorable.
God fucking damn it. Okay, great. Everything's fine. It's just I can't work out how to make the audio be on my headphones. God fucking damn it. I'm sad.
So rescheduling?
Yeah.
we are through our time slot.
I mean, it's been great hanging out with y'all. Don't get me wrong.
I'm very this might just be the end of the podcast, forever.
Wait, I did it. Everything's great. Everything works now.
So how did PHP Town Hall end? Well, we didn't know how to do Google Hangouts.
Hangouts is too hard.
This thing works
So
now.
half of your head is cut off of my screen, by the way.
Yeah, the camera's down here. I don't know why. So this is technically recording now, but it's also 2 a.m, so it's up to you guys. I don't mind.
I'm cool with it. I don't care.
I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
I'm cool with it.
I still have half
I have
a bottle of
nothing
wine, so everything's
I have
fine.
nothing else to do tonight.
Okay, let's go. Recording.
All right. Cool. You want me to do it, Ben, or you want to do it?
You should do it. 62.
All right. One. There you go. Jesus is not here, okay? All right.
This is the reason why Jesus doesn't talk to us anymore.
A lot of reasons. I made a joke about that on a bike tour the other day, too. They were not amused at all.
That can't go over well in Nashville.
Oh, but it does, because I made $60 just from doing nothing. Okay.
I feel like there's a great story here.
There is. We'll talk about it. So 3, 2, 1. Cool. All right. Welcome to episode 62 of PHP Town Hall. This is going to be a shit show. It's going to be great. I'm Matt. I'm here with my best friend, Ben Edmonds. Say hi, Ben.
Woo!
Okay, that was kind of a high. Occasional best friend, Amanda Folsom.
Also,
Say hi, Amanda.
I like that I rate higher. That's my goal in life.
It is. And then back from the dead, he's not dead, Mr. Phil Sturgeon.
Hello there. What am I? Just a piece of shit? I don't understand this ranking system that you've devised. Everyone's uncomfortable.
You're my best bike friend.
There you go. As long as I'm something.
There you go. So Phil is my best bike and API friend. Ben is my best friend, and Amanda is just she's there.
You're my best friend.
So, whoa, hey now. I feel offended. So we have a bunch of different topics to get to, and since we have Phil here, who hasn't been here in a good old year or two, and he's been up to so much. Phil, what have you been up to?
Pretty much just riding my bike. I'm now a hermit that lives on an island and just rides bikes. That's the whole thing. I was about to do a serious answer, but I think that actually is the serious answer.
Yeah, that is pretty close. Let's start with you getting deported again. How about that for those that don't know?
Yeah.
Let's segue real fast. How do you say the island you're on?
Tenerife, technically.
Okay.
I mean,
Americans have never heard of this place before, so none of us really know how to say it.
Most English speakers call it Tenerife, but it's one of those things you know that everyone knows that obnoxious person that went traveling around Spain for 2 weeks and then all of a sudden it's Barcelona, not Barcelona, right? I don't really want to be that guy. So yeah, it's Tenerife or Tenerife, one of the two. But yeah, right now I'm in the Canary Islands just because it's a place that people come for winter training, people that are super into bikes, mostly the professionals and people that get kicked out of America and have a bit of spare cash, come here to ride bikes in the winter because it's basically spring all year round. I've gone from heat exhaustion to hypothermia and back again in the same day. So it's pretty exciting stuff here.
So, I mean, how'd you end up there? What happened to your last job?
Oh yeah, so I was working for WeWork and wasn't wildly excited about the whole situation for a series of reasons. Lots of changes going on there. It kind of went from being a startup to a giant corporation, and that's not really my thing. So I basically rage quit the country entirely. Obviously, as we've discussed on the podcast in the past, I'm sure my visa is usually tied to the job with the type of visas I get, the O1. So if I leave the job, I leave the visa and I have to leave the country. I'm pretty sure Ben left New York, so he wouldn't have to hear me moaning about WeWork. So it's pretty funny to be back here attacking him directly via the internet. But yeah, I just left America. Unfortunately, had to pretty much fire sale everything I own. There was lots of tweets about who wants to buy my car, who wants to buy my. Actually, I still have a Cyclops Hammer indoor trainer available for $500 plus shipping.
That's why you wanted to come on the podcast. I knew there was a reason.
I just really had to get out to a large audience of cyclists. Yeah, but I just.
Well, it's really only me right now.
Yeah, I just sold everything I owned and went somewhere. So I ended up in Tenerife specifically just because it's warm and I can ride bikes here. Plus, flights are really cheap. Like everyone's like, "Oh, look at you going to a tropical island or whatever." But no, it was $200 direct from well, not direct. $200 from New York via 2 different places in Portugal and then here. But yeah, it's real cheap getting to the Canary Islands.
Yeah.
Interesting fact. I don't know if some of you guys know Tall Joe. I don't think he ever made it onto the podcast, but Tall Joe is coming to join me tomorrow. He's going to come ride bikes with me as well.
How'd you talk him into that?
I just said, hey, you know how it's minus 40 degrees in New York? Do you want to come ride bikes where it's not? I've been in shorts and t-shirts the whole time, man. It's amazing.
Nice. That's like the one thing I don't miss about New York is just the cold.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah.
How is it where you are?
It's like 70 right now.
God, I hate you so much. It's like 32 degrees and we have flood advisories for the next 3 days. It's great.
That must suck for you.
No, I got a kayak. I'll be fine.
So, kayak to the pub.
I have some like dolphin floaties I put on, and I can just swim anywhere. But so I mean,
that makes a lot of sense, actually.
So I mean, Phil, with biking and not working, A, how are you making money, and B, what are you doing to make more money when you inevitably run out from biking so much?
Just keep in mind, this is a safe for work podcast, Phil.
Of course. Well, all I was going to say is, luckily, I still have my good looks. So I luckily, it's the 3rd time I've essentially been kind of not kicked out of the States, but been told I wasn't necessarily welcome to stay. It's the 3rd time it's happened, so I've had a bit of experience with kind of spotting it coming a way off. And this time, as opposed to the last 2 times, the jobs just kind of went bankrupt all of a sudden. You know, I'm minding my own business, 18 months into into a job, thinking it's the hottest new shit, and then all of a sudden it vanishes. And having the carpet pulled out from under you can be pretty tricky to try and like. It can just like mess with your finances and cause a lot of problems. But this time it was my choice. I basically knew for a long time that I was going to be leaving, and it was just a matter of when. So actually, since July, my lease ran out. And I didn't really feel like signing a new lease, mostly because I think I've talked to a few of you about it. It's like a really weird thing when you're living in a different country or living in a different place anywhere. There's usually a couple of different things that keep you staying there, right? Like you have a job and a house or an apartment and like a relationship. And those are the 3 main kind of anchor things that keep you in a place. And then every now and then one of those things will go away. You know, your relationship ends or your lease runs out or you lose your job. And one of those things kind of goes away and the other 2 things will keep you there, keep tide you over. So you just kind of get a new apartment or you end up a little while later, you end up in a new relationship. And there's always 2 out of 3 of those things. But I realized that I was down to down to just the one, and it was pretty much, with the lease running out and the relationship I was in that ended, it was pretty much just the job. And I was like, I don't think I really like this job. I'm kind of hoping that I get this promotion in a month or two, and if I don't get it, then bollocks to it. And so I didn't get the promotion I've been promised for a really long time for a series of very silly reasons. And so I was like, okay.
Not that you're bitter or anything.
Not that I'm bitter. It's just very, very silly. And so it was a case of like, basically I knew since August that I'd probably be going at some point, but I didn't want to leave right in the middle of cyclocross season. So I stuck around for all of autumn and winter just so I could keep on racing bikes. And then as soon as that was done, I was like, right, bollocks to you, I'm off. So seeing as I was able to kind of plan it a little bit ahead, it meant that it was a lot easier. And so I was living in some interesting places and just kind of cycling around upstate and doing a lot of really fun remote stuff. And for 3 months, it worked out really well. I had a friend who was away traveling, and I got to stay in their apartment for like $500 a month. It was so cheap compared to New York rent. Like normally it's like $2,500. So, saving $2,000 a month and kind of seeing the end coming a long way away meant that I could tuck a bit of money away for later and just like filled up a savings account. And seeing as I also sold basically everything I own apart from 2 backpacks worth of stuff, it meant that I had a nice bit of cash to bugger off with. So,
Nice. Are you going to do the digital nomad thing for a while, or what's your plan now?
Yeah, a little while. So I've been in the Canary Islands for all of February so far, and I'm staying till the end of the month. Taking a boat to mainland Spain. I have got a new job working remote, and Stoplight.io, who I've been talking about for bloody ages. I'm a big old fan of them, and I just kind of ended up randomly. We were chatting for ages about some of their new open source tools, and there was this like email thread going backwards and forwards with the CEO, and like 25 emails in, I'm just like, hey, by the way, is there a job I could do? And he was like, yeah, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. Actually, we should do that, right? It's just the most natural thing in the world. They have one fella that works.
When you told me you were going there, I was like, holy shit, that is like the perfect job for Phil and his interest, right? It's like they made it.
They want me to do they want me to do architect work, and they are a company that focuses on API specifications. They're like the 2 things that I care about, just like merged into one job. And I'm like, yeah, you can give me money to do shit I love. That sounds fine.
Only they pay you to bike as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then seeing as they would like it if I was, in the States, but I'm not legally allowed to be. So, we're going to try and see how remote works until I can get green cards or whatever else sorted out at some point in the future. But it'd be nice to be kind of remote and in Europe and riding a bike around, and I can get back to the UK and spend some time with the other sturgeons for a while and things like that. So the immediate plan is that I am going to Spain for a couple of weeks. Like there's a big island straight there. So I can take my bike straight over to Spain and then hang out in Poland for a little bit with some of the other remote workers. And yeah, it's going to be a little interesting time of just wandering around Europe.
Sounds pretty fun, dude.
Yeah.
So when does the job start? Like how long are you unemployed for?
Like a week or 2. So
okay, that's quick. What's like your stack there? Are you still doing Ruby? Are you going back to PHP, or what's the plan?
A lot of TypeScript, which
I'm
interested in. Yeah, I mean, recently it's been more Node and kind of ECMAScript. It's been more of that than Go or Ruby or anything else that I used to program in. So it's interesting to kind of make that switch from standard JavaScript to TypeScript. I mean, I know it's better, I guess. I just don't really have any experience with it. I mean, the PHP world is going from kind of what are types, right, to like viciously fighting to get them and then slowly adding them into the core language itself. So like I'm a big proponent of types. I just haven't fucked with TypeScript at all. Last time I tried, it was like 5 hours of me fighting to get some like tool chain build step working. And then I was like, I could just not. And then I did the whole thing in the space of an hour. So I feel like it's a lot of complications when you're not used to it, but they're all used to it. So I hope they can help me learn.
Fair.
So, I mean, for those like in the API space or whatever who are really following what you're doing with the WeWork, what's going to happen with like Specky and things like that?
Specky has been left with a couple of people that are motivated and interested in keeping it going. Interestingly, Stoplight have built an alternative to Specky. It was kind of interesting how that one came up because it was, back before I was talking to them about having a job or anything. They were kind of talking to me about a bunch of things, and I mentioned Specky, and I was like, hey, for those that don't know, Specky is an open API based linter. So just like you have like ESLint, it'll be like, hey, you should add curly braces and whatever to your JavaScript. Open API Specky will give you opinions. It's very opinionated, just like myself. It will shout at you like, hey, you should add descriptions to your parameter names so people know what they are and things like that. So Stoplight actually kind of built their own because they really liked the idea of Specky, but they didn't like the fact that it was very much tied to OpenAPI v3 specifically. Like it wouldn't work with generic JSON schema, it wouldn't work with version 2, it wouldn't work with RAML or other types of JSON. So they basically just built their own in TypeScript, and it was way, way, way better. So Specky is going to be kind of maintained. I don't think it's going to be aggressively feature developed or anything like that. So for those that are interested in that sort of thing, also check out Spectral. I will be helping them out. It's got a great team of developers already on it. They don't necessarily need me, but I'll be there saying things, and I'm working on it a little bit as well. So there's plenty of options out there for people that care about OpenAPI linting.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those tools that like just join my tool chain really fast, and it just won't go away. It's just so good, and it's so great. And so, I mean, a lot of people have asked me in a PHP space, like, what else is there outside of Specky? And I'm like, well, I mean, there's Spectral, but I haven't used it yet. But
yeah,
I have some insider information. I know who's going there. So
right.
hopefully Spectral will be the tool that we all use.
For sure. And interestingly, so I don't know if you use VS Code, but Specky was kind of a clone of Swagger to OpenAPI and some of the internal utilities that were there. So there was a linter and validator logic that was just built into that part of the test suite. And that since then has become OAS Kit. So you just search for OAS Kit. Sorry, it's really distracting because I'm watching Matt get mauled by his dog right now. You can't see that if you're listening at home, but it's fucking hilarious. No sign of the dog.
Did you just let the dog lick inside your mouth? Because that's totally what I think just happened.
Hey man, getting some's getting some.
All right.
What
I'm not going to tell you what I gave up to be here tonight, okay? Calm down.
There was no sign of this dog for the 1 hour that we were trying to get this recording started. His dog's just all up in him.
It took us so long to get started. The dog needs another walk. That's the problem.
Yeah,
I gotta pee.
Absolutely fantastic. And I definitely won't bother editing any of this when I give you the video, because interestingly, I'm a guest on your podcast, but I'm currently recording it because we couldn't get Google Hangouts to work. Hey, anyway, what are we talking about?
It's very professional. So it's a good time to break and mention our sponsor for this episode, WeWork. It's a great place to create film.
It's been doing my head in. I literally left America and came to an island to ride my bike around and get away from everything. And every podcast I listen to on my bike ride is fucking sponsored by WeWork. They're more aggressive than Casper mattresses right now at trying to get people to sign up. It's doing my head in.
I thought you were going to say there's a WeWork there on the island.
Oh yeah, there's 25 WeWorks on Tenerife. It's drunk, sunburnt British people asking for cervezas por favor. Anyway, the thing about Specky, yes, so OAS Kit is a really good thing, and built on OAS Kit, if you use VS Code for your editor, let's all fight about our favorites right now. Go. VS Code, it has something called OpenAPI linter, and it's basically Specky. We've kind of backported a lot of the advances made in Specky back into OAS Kit and back into OpenAPI linter, which is worked on by Mike Ralphson. So if you like Specky, you can get most of the benefits from just by using the VS Code extension. You don't need it to be in the command line, but if you do specifically need a command line tool, then Specky still exists for now, but in the future, it's probably just going to be Spectral.
Cool. So, I mean, outside of like Specky, Spectral, and all that, what else are you doing with the with APIs right now? I mean, you can't really program APIs while you're pedaling up the hill. So, I mean, what else are you doing?
Yeah, so I'm currently working on 2 books. I have currently working on surviving other people's APIs, which is kind of the other side of the coin, right? Like you can build the best API in the world, but if no one knows how to interact with them, then that's a problem. And actually, this is one of the things I'm really, really grateful to WeWork for. A large part of the reason why I stuck around for so long was that it gave me just a treasure trove of content. I think if I'd have been at pretty much any other company I can think of, I wouldn't necessarily have had another book to write, but I have just had like just an astounding number of what the fuck moments, and it's really helped. So I'm basically taking a little bit of time before I start the next job to just kind of get as much of that down on paper as possible. And also at the same, that book's about 65% of the way through. I've been joined by Mike Befalco, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's kind of a full stack developer with front end, back end experience, who's helping me kind of round out, because I'm not the best front end developer in the world. I'm not a very good front end developer, but I do know the things that front end developers need to know. I work with enough of them that I can like identify their problems. And a lot of that book is about like, getting into weird mid states where, you submit a form and there's some unexpected validation issue that the server's reporting, but the client doesn't know about. And because you've already clicked submit, they've like vanished the form and it's gone, and they're expecting a positive state from the server, but then that never comes. So you're just left with this random white screen of death, and there's no way to progress to the next page, right? So it's kind of like weird situations like that where it's either front-end developers or back-end developers talking to other APIs. It's a whole book for people that talk to APIs and how to avoid completely fucking that up, and everyone just completely fucks that up all the time. So I'm hoping that will be a good one. And yeah, I'm also working on a second edition for Build APIs You Won't Hate, because that one was started in like 2013, came out in 2014, and everything about APIs has changed completely in that time. Like people, it used to be everything's about REST, and then it was, oh, look, everything should be gRPC, everything should be GraphQL, GraphQL is REST 2.0, and all this stuff. But really, HTTP 2 has come out, and that's changed everything. So I feel like a lot of the time people are focusing on optimizing using GraphQL, and GraphQL is just optimizing HTTP 1.1, but HTTP 2 is out, and that changes everything about how you build an API. So I should probably write a book.
Is this really just a book, just like Bash and GraphQL, the whole book?
No,
I hope so.
It's a book trying to help everyone make educated decisions about when various tools are right for certain jobs.
I'm not hearing.
Why did you
mystify some of the fanboyism?
What was that, Amanda?
I said I'm not hearing no here.
Yeah.
It's not always the most positive about GraphQL. Yes, chapter 1 is bollocks to it.
Yes.
So why are you writing this at once? That seems like double the masochism.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I was trying to just write the surviving book, the client-side book. I was trying to just write that for a while, and the problem was I'd kind of look at it and I'd try and write a paragraph, I'd try and write a chapter about a certain topic, but I'd really have this like other topic in my head. Like while I was at WeWork, I was doing a lot of kind of internal API consulting. I was running around and helping various different teams deal with their issues. And sometimes it would be, the API team fucked up. Sometimes it would be the client team fucked up. So a lot of the time it'd be a combination of the two. But I'd spend like an entire month trying to help somebody deal with like how to build pagination into an API, right? And then during that month that I'm working on something, like that, I'd be sitting down trying to do client-side chapters, and I just don't have. It's really hard to context switch like that. Like when you're really, really dedicated to a certain topic, trying to write about a totally different topic isn't necessarily that helpful. So my theory was, if I can just kind of do both books at the same time, then if I'm doing a client-side thing, I can just sit down at the end of the day and write about that thing. And then, next time I'm doing a server-side thing, I can just go and write about that thing. And theoretically, that would mean that neither of them got blocked. And it's not asynchronous work, but it's helpful.
Sorry? Has that helped in practice?
Yes. It's helped a little bit. Like I've spent the last 2 weeks working on the Build APIs book, and I've really enjoyed it. I'm really happy to be doing that again because I just really wanted to write some building API related stuff, and I just couldn't before. So it's helpful to be able to make some progress, because otherwise every time I sit down in front of a computer, I'm just like, I just, I just feel bad that I haven't done more. And instead of focusing on like writing, I just like, oh shit, I should probably do this other thing because I just feel obliged to. It's good to just get words down on paper, because I've got a lot of words to write on both the books. It doesn't really matter which order.
Yeah, that's cool.
So for people who have already read the first version of Build APIs You Won't Hate, what sort of fun new things can we expect in the second version, or are you trying not to talk about that?
No, I'm happy to. So the first book is basically how to build a REST-ish API using Laravel. That should have been the title. I don't think I really even mention Hateos, hypermedia controls. I mention it as like the last chapter, and I don't really do it any sort of justice. I think I wasn't like 100% sure how Hateos was actually useful when I wrote a book about APIs, which is bloody embarrassing and slightly ridiculous.
That was kind of before you drank the Hateos Kool-Aid, though, right? Because it is like a Kool-Aid you drink.
Yeah, it's tasty Kool-Aid. Yeah, it was before I really understood it. Like, there's a lot of different levels of Hateos, right? And like one of them is just like put links in there so that people can, use those links, and you can change the URL and it's fine. And that's like not at all what Hypermedia is about. So that was the definition that I had. And people, like our friend Alex Bilby at the time would say things like, I love REST, I do everything REST, but don't really see the point in that like Hateos thing. I mean, why would I wait for a response before I, use a link? Why wouldn't I just use the link if I know what the link is? And I'm like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. And so we were kind of on the same page with things like that. But that's basically the most kind of basic, naive, static Hateos, where you just literally, there's these links here all the time, and it's just for relationships, and they're not really very helpful. And then when you get into kind of dynamic Hateos and a lot more mature levels of Hateos, you're like, holy shit, this thing's actually really, really useful. And you start running into problems all the time that could totally be resolved by using Hateos. And I worked at companies where we're like, oh yeah, if this field is here and this other field is there, then that means that you should be able to do this random thing. And you have like 5 different applications to look at different combinations of these fields and kind of contrive different business meanings from those different combinations of fields. And all you had to do was put a fucking link in there that said like, you can mark this tour as complete if you see a complete link. Right? Mm-hmm. Like just look for that link. The server decides. Instead of having 5 different clients decide something, you just have the server decide something. And then all 5 of those clients follow the same business rules and can follow the same action. And you're like, holy shit, that's much better. So it's not going to be a whole book banging on about Hypermedia, but it is going to be a book that talks about REST properly, GraphQL properly, and gRPC properly, right? Like the main focus, one of the first things we discuss is like, here are the 3 paradigms, REST, RPC, and query languages. And then of those paradigms, we're going to look at the latest, most popular implementations. So there's going to be a lot of focus on JSON API, GraphQL, and gRPC. And because you can't talk about every single implementation, you can't talk about like twerp and XML RPC and SOAP and every single possible thing, right? And Sparkle and FICL, and there's so many of them. So we just take like the latest, most popular implementation from each of the paradigms and kind of discuss some of the technical differences between them, when you use different things, when the extra layers of abstraction that REST offers you, like when they're useful and when they're fucking annoying and get in the way, right? And how you can combine the paradigms. So examples of like using REST as a BFF, a backend for front end, and internally having loads of microservices that are gRPC based, and then having like a data access layer, which might be in GraphQL. So you can use all 3 of the things in a mature architecture, and you should absolutely use a combination of these things. And so it's trying to get people away from like, one new thing that came out last month is best thing that we should use for everything. Because if people get in that mindset, like the next thing that comes out after GraphQL, everyone's going to ditch GraphQL and go running over to that next thing. And we're just going to be in this weird, like, bandwagon jumping, rewrite everything bullshit state forever. And that's annoying.
Nice.
So all your books are self-published, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've never really bothered with them. Publishing's weird. Have you guys? I can't remember. Ben, you've done some self-published books, right? Like, have you ever been?
Yeah, I've done both, right? So I had the self-published, then I had the one that's published, and not to like shit on my publisher, right? But I probably should have kept it self-published. Like, you make a lot more money self-published. It's kind of nice to publish a book just for the like bragging rights of it because it looks nice on a resume or whatever. But
yeah,
you definitely make a whole lot more money self-publishing.
Yeah, I mean, you have to try harder, but it can be worth it. So like, I was pretty lucky in that I had a couple of followers and stuff like that. So like when I did a book, there was a few people that noticed it, right? Like if I was just some random person that no one had ever heard of, then releasing a book on LeanPub and hoping it sold might not be the way to go. But if you've been, blogging a lot and involved in a few open source projects, you just have a bit of an audience. That's a good leg up. And now that I've kind of managed to build there's like a mailing list of 2,000 or 3,000 people on APIs-you-won't-hate.com. Like once I've got that, I can just do another book and be like, hey, look, folks, there's another book. Mm-hmm. You can buy it, and that's going to be a pretty decent start. So if you've already got...
I think it helped a little bit too, right? Because you and I both released our first books pretty soon after LeanPub first came out, right? So there weren't exactly a ton of books on there yet. So it was really easy to get noticed, which I think helped a lot.
Yeah, and I think it was when their algorithms were pretty naive. I don't know how... I think actually they're still pretty naive. Like back in the day, LeanPub... LeanPub's fantastic. It's maybe a whole pile of cash. Not mean to shit on them, but the algorithms are pretty naive. Like you can just basically put a coupon on there for 70% off. And a bunch of people will go buy it, and you end up on the homepage on the top 10, and then people just buy it because people go to LeanPub and go, "Oh, that cover looks cool. I like APIs," and they just buy it. So like I managed to stay in the top 10 for like 2 years just because whenever I went to page 11, I just did a coupon code, bumped it back up to the top 10, and that made me a shitload of sales. Like there's no way to like confirm that. There's no like affiliate IDs or way to like track through their website with Google Analytics. But I know that whenever I got down to like top 20 or whatever else, that would be a bad month. And then I just kind of, put a coupon on there and it would be a good month. So, yeah, LeanPub really helped out in that way. And honestly, I've kind of gone off LeanPub I've changed my model a little bit. I used to use LeanPub as the only way to sell my book. Like my book was on LeanPub, my APIs-you-won't-hate.com would just be a link to LeanPub, and that was it. Because my theory was the more sales I can channel into LeanPub, the more I'll stay in that top 10. But after 3 or 4 years, it was kind of flogging a dead horse. Like the book was still doing well, but it wasn't good enough to stay in that top 10. So it didn't really matter. So I figured if I can get it on my own like sales platform, then that will be better. So I set up a Shopify website and I used Sendowl. So now like you go to my website, you buy the book and Sendowl will send you the ebook. Printful will send you like an actual print copy from the warehouse.
That's cool.
And 100% money goes to the yeah. And the benefit there is that like instead of waiting 45 days for the money to come through from LeanPub and it go into PayPal, I get the money 4 hours later in my checking account. Someone buys the book and then literally Stripe just put that money in my account straight away. So that's quite nice. And I figure at a certain point that trade-off between like 80% of lots of sales versus 100% of fewer sales kind of just gets close enough to making sense.
But yeah, so you're still doing LeanPub as well? Like you're doing both channels?
Yeah, so I'm using LeanPub for like, these books are still in progress by them for now, because you can quite easily just like upload an in progress thing and people get emails about it and stuff like that. But Yeah, it's going to be LeanPub for while the books are in progress, and I'll leave them on there in case someone clicks through and buys it. There's no point taking it off that marketplace. But my website and my blog and my everything else will be pushing my own, buy it directly from me, so I can have that money now, please.
Are you still using the LeanPub toolchain to generate the books?
No, that's one thing I've changed. It was really great to get started because the first book I did was basically I started writing a series of blog posts and then realized this might actually be more than a series of blog posts and this just would take too long. And so those were all in Markdown. And I loved the fact that I could just copy and paste my Markdown blog posts into the Lean, I made a new Git repo, and LeanPub uses basically a Git repo or Dropbox folder with Markdown based stuff. So it's really cool. I can just copy them blog posts and have a book. But it's pretty limited. Like, it doesn't really do all that much formatting for you. Make like a source code highlighting, and you can have like, oh, this is a quote or a warning box or whatever. There's not all that much. So now I use AsciiDoc. I don't know if anyone's heard of that, but it's basically a nice wrapper DocBook. And DocBook's complicated as fuck. So it's basically AsciiDoc is also great feedback from Matt there.
Matt's like, I'm bored as shit.
I just named some acronyms and he fell asleep. You need the dog to start licking you again, you'll come back.
Still here.
Yeah, anyway, it's a bit of a technical ramble, but basically I write in AsciiDoc. I've got that in a GitHub repo. That GitHub repo is actually public for now, and I've had a good bit of feedback. Matt, you've actually helped out and jumped in. It's been really cool. But yeah, I'm keeping it open for now, and I like the fact that AsciiDoc is just simple enough. It's like Markdown, but just does more. And there's not like 25 different flavors of it. There's just literally AsciiDoc, and that's it. And then you can convert that into DocBlock, which can be converted into PDF and EPUB and God knows what else. So that's my toolchain for now, and I'm keeping it GitHub based. I tried fucking with Scrivener on the other book, on the surviving book, but like as soon as I had a laptop and an iPad, it completely started saying like, oh, you locked it. It's like source safe version control. It's like you opened it on your iPad, you left your iPad at home. Now you can't open it on your laptop because only one person gets to look at this shit. I'm like, oh, my laptop's 20 blocks away. Fuck you. I have to walk home and literally close the program before I can work on this thing. I was going to spend an hour writing. So
yeah, that just kills your productivity, right? Because you're like, I'm just not ready today.
And so when it was one person with 2 devices, that was bad. And now it's 2 people with 4 devices. So all thanks to Scrivener. Scrivener can go away. It was really helpful when it's just me, but definitely not when it's more than one person. So I'm trying to keep it GitHub kind of text-based, and AsciiDoc, I think, is the way to do that.
So I mean, like outside of Scrivener, like, do you have a preference writing on an iPad versus a computer? Is there like a pro and a con to one or the other?
Yeah, I really fucked up bringing my laptop with me when I came to the island.
I mean, besides your like screen issues.
Yeah, so I have a glossy screen, and it's like looking in a mirror. It's fucking pathetic. Yeah, so I actually really enjoyed. Like, I bought $80 iPad 2 off of my friend, and I bought a $30 like fold-out pocket-sized keyboard with Bluetooth. And that was fucking amazing. It would slide around on like wooden stuff. So I just literally like glued rubber to the bottom, and it was amazing. It was literally like $100 setup. And I walked into a bar, and I got shit-faced, but I did like 2 chapters. I just sat down and I just smashed it. I went back in there like a few weeks later with a laptop, and they're like, oh, no. You can't have a laptop on the bar. That's a rule from management. I was like, oh, okay. And I pulled out the tablet keyboard combination. They were like, okay.
Awesome.
Hacked it. So things like that. Plus, like I've totally fucked up. When I came to Tenerife, I completely forgot to get one of those Euro adapters, right? And so I didn't have any mains plug for my laptop. So it took me a week to find one. It was quite a long way I was in Gran Canaria, and I was like up a mountain, middle of fucking nowhere. I'm like, there's no there's no Best Buy, but I had I had USB ports everywhere. And so the fact that with a tablet and with just a little bullshit keyboard, the fact that you can plug that into like a portable battery pack, and you can plug that into a television and get a charge and do a full day's worth of writing, like that is ultimately the best writing tool. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the tablet keyboard combination, and I'm really sad that I don't have that right now. I smashed the screen the day before I traveled.
So did you?
Yeah.
Oh, figures.
How did you manage that?
I put the iPad in my bag, but it wasn't in the laptop sleeve. It was just like diagonal across, and then I put loads of shit on top, and it just smushed it.
Damn.
Wait, shit! I'll sell you my iPad. I don't want it.
All right, can you get it to Tenerife in the next 9 days? Just jump on a plane. It'd be quicker and cheaper.
Just send me an address and we'll work it out. Maybe you have a crank for me. I need a crank, so let's do a deal.
For people that aren't aware, that is a sex toy. No, sorry, no, that's a bike part.
I mean, they're not mutually exclusive here.
No, not at all. Especially when you look at a crank. Everyone's gonna go Google image bike.
And then they're gonna wonder like who hurt you.
Well, that list is very long, as we all know.
Are you still doing the Surface Go setup for travel, Amanda? How are you liking that?
Yeah,
it sounds kind of similar to Phil's setup, right?
It's pretty similar. I like that I have access to a full version of Windows, which is kind of nice.
Blasphemy.
Well, so I want to be angry about it, but honestly, after all of the trouble I've had with Macs and stuff lately, and I used Linux for a long time, and I'm just kind of like over the compile your own fun version of dealing with operating systems. Like going back to Windows after dealing with all of that crap has actually been kind of nice. And I hate to say that, but yeah.
That sounds amazing.
No, it is amazing.
I was really curious about the Surface Go and things like that because I wanted a tablet. I have this Dell XPS bullshit, and they sent me the wrong one. It was meant to be the touchscreen 2-in-1 because I wanted to have a tablet that could also do actual computer stuff. So the idea was like I want to be able to do basic, like I need to send a pull request and type some shit and do the terminal. But I also want to be able to like draw diagrams for the book and things like that. So that was the plan. It didn't fucking work out. This thing is garbage and I'm full of regrets. But my original plan when I was toying with the iPad 2 keyboard thing was like, maybe I want a Surface Go. Like maybe that would be the way to go. Awkward pun. But how is that? Like, can you get normal work done and also have the joy of a tablet? Like, is it actually that good or?
So you can. I think for a lot of things, it ends up being a little slow. So like you can pull up Visual Studio. The other thing is that it comes in S mode, which is like their secure mode. So you can only install things from the App Store initially. So you have to turn that off. And then once you do, you can't turn it back on, which I don't actually care about, but some people might. Yeah, so you can totally get work done, but like Visual Studio is a little slow if I'm doing something with that. Yeah, you notice that it's a little sluggish. I haven't tried anything with Docker or anything like that just because I'm a little afraid. But
right.
Yeah,
I think you want to avoid doing that.
What's that?
I think you probably want to avoid doing that, right? Like on a tablet, I'm happy to just, do whatever the fuck is installed with this thing. Like I'm just going to do basic programming. I'm not going to try and run like 8 virtual machines at the same time.
Yeah. So I think for what I'm using it for, which is just like really basic, light productivity things, it's perfect for that. And it's easy to not get distracted by things because you are pretty much forced to close them as they start to make the mischievous.
Okay.
But like, honestly, I think if I were going to do the ultra portability thing, I would have no problem getting a Surface at this point. And I'm actually looking to replace my MacBook Pro with a Surface next time.
That's with one of the Pro or something.
What's that?
One of the bigger Surfaces, like a Pro or something.
Yeah, something like that. Just because I absolutely enjoyed the Surface Go, and I think if I could use that and keep that same setup, like use it as a tablet, which I do all the time, or pop the keyboard on there and then use it as like a real computer, which I also do all the time, only on like a bigger scale, then that would be perfect. I wouldn't need to lug around 2 laptops.
Yeah. What do you switch to? You had like a dock, right? Because it's like a tablet, a laptop, and a desktop.
Yeah, so I don't have the dock for the Go just because I'm not sure I would want to use it as like a daily driver, but for just like little things here and there, it's perfect. But then like yeah, the proper Surface, you can get a dock and everything for it, and supposedly it works pretty well from the people that I've been talking to.
Yeah, I mean, when I worked with Elizabeth Smith at Tandem with Jacques, she used the Surface Pro exclusively, and she never had any problems. Well, I take it back. She had plenty of problems, but I think a lot of that was her breaking things herself, not Windows, but she loved it. That was great. I thought it was blasphemy, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely giving it serious consideration because I've been having some problems with like my MacBook Pro, and I just cannot justify spending the money on another one.
Yeah, I had the newer MacBook Pro 13, and I've been so unhappy with it. Like, I already had the keyboard replaced. I had like the upper panel replaced, and I still hate the keyboard. Like, I still type like shit on this keyboard. Like, I can't get used to it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. And then the keys just feel kind of cheap to me now.
Yeah, feels like you're gonna break them.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm just not digging it. And then like if I'm using it on my desk and I like press down at the corner, it makes like this horrible cracking noise.
Yeah, it's
Like
scary.
I don't know. They cheaped out, and I don't hate the touch bar. Like there are a lot of people that are like, oh, the touch bar is the worst thing in the world. Like I don't hate it, but it's also not that useful to me. You know?
Yeah.
I don't find myself being like, oh my gosh, I sure wish I had a button that has no tactile feedback that I could push in this moment right now.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. And then you can get the version without the touch bar, but at that point, like you're not.
Is that a thing?
It's totally a thing.
I think it's underpowered though, or something, right? So there's a
Yeah,
reason I went for this one instead, and it wasn't the touch bar.
Specs, yeah.
Yeah.
Specs.
I feel like I'm being a big old hypocrite right now because there are so many podcasts that I've unsubscribed to because it's a bunch of just people complaining that the Apple product is slightly different from what they want, and now I'm just kind of being exactly that person.
No, I will totally be that person because they used to actually care about like their power user base, like the people that were using it for design and video and all those things, and now it's oh, we know that everybody who buys these things is just going on Facebook, so we don't actually care anymore.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Totally agree. It's a mess. The company's gone massively downhill. And actually, so I'm still chasing like the perfect setup, which again is tricky because like my situation keeps changing, and also I keep kind of just wanting different things. But I was hoping that the iPad plus keyboard thing would be the perfect solution, and it did seem like it was for a little while because I had the Scrivener application, but as soon as I bailed on Scrivener, I realized I was kind of bollocksed with the iPad combination because now my setup is basically I'm writing ASCII doc files in a GitHub repo. I don't really have a good way of doing that on the iPad, right? Like you don't really have a terminal, you don't really have Git, you can kind of install some of this shit, but I'd have to have like, theoretically, you could have a Raspberry Pi set up that exists somewhere that's always plugged in. You have it installed at home. It's running an SSH server. You vim into that and ASCII doc away. I don't have a house anywhere. I just have a pipe.
I've done that kind of before with just like a DigitalOcean box, right? So I just have like a DO box and I use that as my server.
I guess. So I could just have a DigitalOcean and have like a iPad putty or whatever the hell it is, and like the SSH client there. But I'm just like, I want to have like VS Code. I really like having VS Code running because I've installed a spell check, which has just really helped me out. I opened up the first chapter of the book for feedback, and immediately Kat and Matt both just dived in there, and I had like 100 comments that were just typos. I was like, guys, God, I can install a spell checker, and that's fine. But I love using VS Code. It's got like visual previews and a bunch of other commands that I love. So the idea of kind of not having VS Code to write just sucks. So yeah, I hope the iPad could be the perfect working writing situation, and it was good. But you need to have like a proper app to do it, and Scrivener, unfortunately, is no longer the good app for me. So I'm kind of stuck in a quagmire of, I guess I need a real laptop. Ugh.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons why I opted to go for the Surface Go. Like I hadn't used Windows for anything more than like some light gaming in 10 years at this point, so I was a little sketchy about it. But I like the idea and the portability of the iPad, but the only reason I don't want to do that is just because you don't have a full operating system. Everything has to be an app, and that just, for what I wanted to do, and particularly the code things, that just wasn't going to work for me. So if you're listening, Apple, you're totally listening to this podcast, please make an iPad that has a full OS on. Thank you.
We are still looking for sponsorship, 62 episodes in.
Yes.
We were just talking about that the other day, too. Ben and I were.
Yeah.
I say we, like I say go here.
No, I said we, like Ben and I. Yeah, you still make some money, I'm sure. I mean, we got to find your lifestyle somehow.
Did we start that 40-minute time limit, or did you pay the thing to not have that?
I paid 13.99 euros, real currency, not sterling, not dollars, but real
So technically, you sponsored the podcast.
Shit. Well,
We'll make sure to take out links about your book.
time to take a break from the billing department. We are going to go and talk about our sponsors today, APIsyouwon'thate.com. Anyway, no.
Also surviving other people's APIs.
APIsyouwon'thate.com. There's both books are for sale. It's a community. Come and join us on our Slack channel, slack.apsyouwon'thate.com. That's it from me. Now, actually, while I'm in control here, I would like to ask you guys. I have not been paying attention to PHP as closely for a while. I still have, follow a lot of PHP people, and I still kind of see the RFCs coming through, and I still see kind of chats and posts and things, and people complaining about, code coverage metrics and things like that. But I am curious about if each of you could point out the thing that you're most excited about in the latest versions of PHP. And then also I am curious about what drama there is. Those are my questions for you guys. Catch me up.
All right, I'll go first because I'm not really up on the drama. But I don't know when you stop, but I mean, scalar type hints are the biggest thing to drastically change in the past couple of years.
I've never written PHP 7, so that's about where I'm at.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, that's the biggest difference, right? Especially syntactically. If you're looking at something, you're going to see type hints.
I'd say I'm aware of those. Apparently, I actually have my name on an RFC that went into PHP 7.4, which I don't remember writing. I think I was drunk. But what are your favorite things in the very latest minor versions, I suppose? I'm aware of 5.
I'm still on PHP 4. I don't really know.
I saw a PHP 3 running somewhere.
I do have a client on 4.2. It's for an internal thing, but
oh my god,
that mentality is alive and well.
I think I was 11 when 4.2 happened. What the hell?
Yeah, it's taking a photo.
Yeah, it's just playing around. I gotta take a photo a day, so.
Okay.
Like my game.
Yeah, the 4.2 thing is alive and well, and actually, in good news, WordPress no longer supports 5.2. So
I remember having that conversation with them 3 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
That was a big surprise for me, actually, that they did that. I was pretty excited about it.
Yeah, and I guess that's a PHP drama that maybe we could get into. That's something that a lot of people have been kind of salty about, particularly with WordPress, just because it's kind of the tail wagging the dog, where they were trying to say, oh, well, PHP the language needs to backport some security fixes into this because we have X amount of people running this version. And the PHP project was like, okay, cool. So it got a little heated there for a little while, but they are very actively working to figure out who the people are that are running 5.2 or 5.4 or 5.5. and figure out why they're still doing that. And they're also helping people upgrade too. So if you go to one of the WordCamps, there are people there on site who can help you upgrade your WordPress project now, which is
everything that you just said, I remember saying 3 years ago, basically, where and I was really impressed with what they were doing back then. And it blows my mind that that's only just become the case. You know what I mean? Like it seemed like a great idea at the time. Basically, I have a background in kind of running content management systems, and there's a lot of people that will say, you know, if you support old versions, then you're being you're not being responsible because you are allowing your customers to install your software on versions that are no longer supported. Therefore, you are putting your profits in front of their security, and there is absolutely truth in that. But there's also this kind of realistic situation of if you only, you know, if you support versions that are the very, very, very latest thing, and that hosting companies don't have them, and those customers can't use your software because it's too modern, then they just use some other bullshit. So like when PyroCMS was too aggressive with its version upgrades, and say like, you know, version 5.4 just came out a few months ago. If we suddenly jumped on a 5.4, everyone would just say, well, we're not going to use your newest version of the software. And so that would be another problem where, you know, they aren't getting PyroCMS updates because they're on an old version of PyroCMS, because that's the one that works on their hosting, because those hosting companies are slow. So there's so much gray area where like you can't just support the latest versions because you will lose money, and you will have people just stuck on old shitty versions of your software, which often is more dangerous than having them on older versions of PHP, right? Especially when your software can kind of avoid some of those PHP insecurities. So, that's some context to where I used to think about it. But I was always really impressed with WordPress because they were, like you say, actively, they had like a phone home feature, and they'd know which hosting company you were with, which version they were on. They'd have statistics around which were the highest priority hosting companies they should try and talk to try and get them to upgrade. And they were saying like, we're going to keep supporting 5.2 because we have 70% of our user base on 5.2 or whatever the numbers were. I'm making them up. But we know that of that 70%, like half of them are on GoDaddy. So we're going to go talk to GoDaddy, and we're going to help GoDaddy upgrade, and we're going to help make this as seamless as possible. And we're going to say, hey, GoDaddy, here's a list of your users or whatever it is. Here's a bunch of people that we think are using WordPress. They're on 5.2. Here's the commands that you should run for these users to seamlessly upgrade them, and everyone will be happy and everything will be great. And they were saying that 3 years ago. So to find out that they've like just this last week or two, like have made progress on that's kind of sad. I've gone from being very happy with them to being sad.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big beast though, right? Slowly. I'm just pretty excited to see like some actual forward momentum there. Because it's a pretty big jump too. It's not just like a single minor, right? They're moving up several.
Yeah, I think they're dropping 5.6 this year as well, and moving up until 7.0, which I mean, it's progress and for the sake of progress, you know. But I mean, 7.0 is now dead for all intents and purposes. But at least it's
I mean, I still say it's pretty good though, right? Because like we wrote enterprise stuff that still has 5.6.
Yeah.
Like I don't think 5.6 is all that rare out there in the wild, you know.
Yeah, I'm okay with 5.6 being like the minimum.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, there's no big security flaws in 5.6 when they killed it a couple months ago. So, I mean, I think it's fine for right now. I wish there was a clear upgrade path for those users, you know. Yeah. Developers weren't afraid to...
So they went from dropping 5.2 to dropping 5.6 in the same month? Or did I mishear you completely? Is 5.2 long dead? What was the version they just recorded?
Well, so they had the State of the Word, and it was here in Nashville back in December. And in Matt's keynote or whatever, he basically said, we're officially dropping support for 5.6 and pushing everything to 7.0. So they still have 5.6 support through this year, I think. And next year, 7.0 is required.
Oh,
for
that's
all
amazing.
plugins.
I thought
Yeah, I
Amanda
mean,
said like 5.2 was just dropped, and I was going to say that's the whole thing I've been talking about for the last like 3 years. You can just edit out the last 10-minute diatribe from me if they've just got rid of 5.6,
well,
No,
5.2.
I think you're accurate, right? Like they just got rid of
Yeah.
5.2, but they've already put a plan in place to give everyone up to 7 within.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No,
Maybe
and
that was
I think there's
one
still.
big hurdle.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, no, I'm done.
Oh, I was just gonna say, no, I think there's still some validity. Like the issue that I had is like, great, you're making an effort to fix this thing. But like you were saying, they also collect a whole bunch of metrics. And at the point where you know that like I think it was down to 2%, and then it was definitely less than 1%, and they were still like, no, backwards compatibility, backwards compatibility. It's like, all right, less than 1% of your users are running 5.2. Like, I think now is the time where you can say, all right, we're no longer supporting this version. Like, I understand why they do that, and if I'm an end user, like, I probably appreciate that a little bit, but at the same time, I think you're right with the irresponsibility thing.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Like I said, as a person that used to run a CMS business that was my main source of income for 2 or 3 years or something, like I totally get why they might have their priorities the way they do. But again, even when I was running that business, if I was going to piss off 1% of my users, then that's fine. Like that's madness. Yeah, when they were saying like 70% of our users are on 5.2, we have to try and make sure that we upgrade all these people and or get the hosting companies. That totally made sense. If
Oh,
they're
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
they're down to 1%, get the fuck on with it. That's mad.
Yeah. So that was really where a lot of my, I don't want to say rage came from because I wasn't really like mad about it, but it was irritating to some degree. It's like, come on, man. It's less than 1%.
Did the eyebrow twitch?
Yes. Well, always.
I mean, it was just annoying for the most part, like maintaining PHP versions.info, and people are still like, oh no, 5.2 is okay. And it's like, no, 5.2 is dead. It's so dead that like there's no point even trying to use it. But people were holding on is because of WordPress. So to see them try and bump it up it's about time.
That's good.
Personally.
And so, Matt, whilst I am hijacking this, being the host for the grand prize of €13.99, what is your favorite PHP feature and also favorite recent drama? So, favorite recent feature and favorite drama.
My favorite feature is not out yet, but it was because of you, and it's going to be the type properties that Nikita pushed through. I think that
not because of me, because of Nikita and because of Joe Watkins. I just write words.
Well, yeah, you wrote the initial words, and I think Joe did the initial implementation, and then it was kind of backbenched for a little while, and then Nikita and Bob Weiland, I think is his name. Might be getting it wrong, but I think it's Bob Weiland. They picked it up and got it through with resounding success. Something I think 50-1 votes passing the RFC process. I could be wrong. The only one who voted against it.
The one.
It wasn't you. Although you were there for a while.
I jumped in with the troll vote.
You jumped in with the troll vote, and then Dimitri actually had a legitimate vote against it. So he was a -1, but for good reason, because it added complexity to the engine. That he maintains the engine for the most part. So he had good reason to vote no, but I'm super excited about that. I think it's going to be a great feature for PHP. I know some people, who are super masochists like Marco Pavetta are basically already compiling from source and requiring PHP 7.4 and some of their like more bleeding edge packages, which take that how you will. I don't really know. Drama wise. I mean, I pay attention to the externals or the internals, and it's been like a drama-filled 3 or 4 weeks. It's been great. Zeev is trying to limit who can vote. That's pretty awesome.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have opinions.
I don't have voting power. I don't have voting rights. I don't have any karma on internals at all. I don't know his reasoning behind it, but personally to me it feels like a power grab. Because if you haven't been following along, they were Zen was bought by Rogue Wave a couple years ago. Now Rogue Wave was bought by Preforce, and then they basically let Zen go. So now those guys don't have a job. So I think Ziva's trying to spin Zen back up and try and get the band back together. And so I think he's partially bored and partially just he wants to take PHP. He wants to get control of PHP back. So he's trying to limit who can vote, which I think is just utterly fucking ridiculous. Because it basically removes userland voters, people like Fabian, John Wage, Marco, people who don't know, I don't know, people who don't contribute any C code but use the language daily, which I think is personally just utterly ridiculous. And then today, oddly enough, so we might be getting a JIT, we might not be getting a JIT now. I don't necessarily know. It looked like it was going to be a thing in 8.0. Which is supposed to come out next year, and now all of a sudden Dimitri's doing his thing and doesn't want to work on it anymore after some criticism. I'm not really sure. I was just reading the thread and...
Wait. You mean version 9?
Yeah. Version 9 -1.
We do every other major version in PHP.
Well, Phil, use your internals credit, karma, whatever, and...
Contiguous major versions are for tossers. Okay, you can't just go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's not. You got to do 5, 7, 12, XP.
PHP Vista.
Yeah. PHP Snowline. So yeah, I mean, I think that covers the drama for the most part.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, those are the big ones.
I mean, that doesn't sound...
I mean, that's pretty much it.
It doesn't sound too different from what I have come to expect from Ziv. Like, that's been going on since forever. Like, as soon as Zen were like, hey, we as a company are going to start putting time, effort, and money into PHP, they've been trying to just take over the whole thing. Like, they've been trying to do that forever. I've heard that from the horse's mouth. Up to people that invented the language. Like, everyone says the same thing, that just Zen have always been trying to take over, and I think they calmed down for a little bit, and then I guess after getting bought and dumped, they've uncalmed down, and they're just back to trying to take the whole thing over again. It's a shame, but luckily the PHP community is strong enough and big enough and powerful enough and diverse enough that they managed to keep kind of rebutting his advances, so that's good.
Well, we'll see. I mean, the userland is having its own troubles around void type hints right now too, which is pretty fucking funny and really sad, but really funny.
Can you?
I mean, so I think I can just hit them just fine. It might be a little bit of a void, but so yeah. That was like my boss level bad, but I think I landed it. So Sebastian, the first Friday of February, Sebastian releases a new version of PHP Unit. He released PHP Unit 8 2 Fridays ago, I think it was. And so with this, you're required to now type in all of your test functions or test methods with a void return type. I mean, at Open Sky where I work, we've been doing this for well over a year since I started, and it's been fine. It works. I mean, is it a little bit of visual debt? Sure. But now with PHP Unit 8, it's actually required to do that per the contract that you create with the API. And the Laravel developers, some of them are just freaking out about how Sebastian had the for lack of a better word, balls to make Laravel developers add a void type hint to their test methods, because I still haven't figured out why they're pissed. They're just pissed about having to type 5 characters, a colon.
Slighted.
Yeah, well, it's actually 6 characters. Excuse me, 7 actually, if I count. So
I was going to say five characters seems pretty reasonable, but 6, get fucked. I'm not going to sit around here typing 6 characters.
7.
Are you fucking insane?
7, good sir. 7. because
Whoa. I'm going to switch to
it's
Ruby right now.
yeah, you should. So you close your parentheses, you add a space, then a colon, another space, and then you type out VOID, and holy shit. So I mean, I
don't know
haven't
about that.
necessarily figured out why certain people are mad about this. It doesn't bother me in the least. It's almost natural at this point for me to just add void to my test methods. I can't for the life of me figure out why this is such a big deal. But honestly, watching them melt down is kind of been like almost as good as watching Star Wars for the like 100th time.
Maybe it's just like a existential dread situation. They just can't deal with the idea of just like sitting there staring into the void all day long. They're just terrified of what life has become. And what life
Well, I
will
mean,
be.
I like to scream into the void, so I don't know. If you saw the pictures last week at Sunshine, I got up to go to the bathroom. When I came out, there was like a band playing around our table, and they were like blocking my way back to the seat. So I just like stood there, scared out of my mind. I was like, I don't know what to do, so I'm just gonna like scream internally the entire time.
I saw the photograph of you dressed up as me.
Yes, yes. So
Apparently,
what's
anyone in
go
the
on?
PHP community that rides a bike is now just doing a shit impression of Phil Sturgeon. Is apparently how that whole thing works.
Well, Anne talks about APIs nonstop apparently, because that's like I ride bikes and I talk about APIs, so people think I'm like the American version of you.
I was the American
Well,
version of me until about a month ago.
Until you weren't.
yeah.
Until I was
See, I
told to
still
get
have
the
permission
fuck
to
out of
live in
the
the
country.
country, so I can do what I want. But what's really fun, like, so we came back and Kat and I both walked over there, and people looked at us, and everyone thought I got like ran over by a car, and everyone thought like Kat like just gotten out of the shower, with all nice and clean, and then there's me, thought like I died and was like dragged through the streets of Miami on the back of a car or something.
It sounds like the time that me and Ben were in Sunshine PHP. Anyway, do we have any other questions?
And something about PHP versions I see here.
Oh yeah, Matt, what has been going on with PHP versions? You've been doing a very wonderful job.
Yeah, so about a year ago, I finally got off my lazy ass and started rewriting it to PHP. And I finally released it out there. It's still kind of beta-ish as we figure out some bugs. I brought Colin Odell officially onto the project to kind of like manage pull requests, so I could free up some time. So like we rewrote the project to PHP. It's Laravel, Vue.js. There's going to be an Open API spec with it, so people can consume it outside of the website as well. So I kind of quietly launched it last week and just kind of been drumming up support, getting people to look at it, and all that. Nothing too crazy.
Nicely done.
So, thank you. So, Phil, any conferences you're coming up to? You're gonna make it back to America for? Can we expect to see you at a PHP conference soon?
I am not legally allowed in America for about another 3 months. I think it's pretty much how that works. After you've had a visa, you can't just kind of pop back up on holiday because they're like, that seems convenient. So I'm staying Europe-y for a while. But I will be back in August to race bikes. So that's my whole plan.
Where are you racing at?
Oh no, just the usual cyclocross stuff in the northeast of New York and whatnot. But I will be at a couple of API days, conferences, and things like that. I actually might be swinging by there's a Barcelona API meetup, February 28th. I'll have been on a ferry for 2 fucking days straight, so I might just not bother and just go to bed or ride my bike. But I'll be trying to get to that meetup in Barcelona. But I'm not really conferencing all that much. How about you guys? How about you folks?
I guess I'll go. So in theory, I will be, I'm for sure going to a Java event at the end of this month. And then It's a little up in the air as far as the PHP events go after that. I need to have surgery on my foot, and traveling with a busted foot does not sound exciting to me. So I have PHP Tech coming up, and then after that, it's kind of up in the air.
I'm sorry to hear that. That sounds terrible.
It is what it is. We got Vicodin, we're good.
I had to fly to a conference after ass surgery. That wasn't good. That was about a 12-hour flight, so it could be worse.
You get your ass excavated? Like, what happened here?
Bicycle-related injury.
Okay.
Ben, which ones are you going to be at? Ben?
He's
You
too busy
live?
giggling after I said ass surgery, I think.
I mean, it's pretty hard not to laugh at that, to be honest.
Did you have to sit on a donut?
I did. I did buy a donut for that flight. It was pretty bad.
Nice.
Yeah, and a lot of whiskey also.
No one else is doing any conferences?
Ben's going to be at Lone Star in May. He will be there. Ben, is Patty coming? You can just type your response to me and I'll tell the world. Patty will probably not be there, so just be Ben and I.
Uh-oh.
Oh, God. Oh, shit. That's going to be terrible. And then I think he's doing 2 talks, I think, but I could be wrong. And then I will be at Midwest. They asked me to keynote, which is terrible.
Good Lord.
So I'm keynoting, and then I'm also talking about Open API there, and then I'll be at Lone Star as well, talking about mental health stuff.
Nice.
And then not sure after that.
That's a pretty full schedule.
Cool. It
All right.
is, but it'll be fun.
Well, Ben's
All
microphone
right,
is
cool.
broken.
Well,
But let's get out of here.
yeah. So Ben says goodbye, Phil. This is great having you on the podcast. Appreciate you dropping by.
Thank you for having me.
There you go.
Thank you.
Amanda, it's great seeing you as well.
Yeah, you too. I'll see you all next
All right.
time in a few months.
There you go. All right. Thanks, y'all. Okay, we're good.